Well, hello. Y'all know I love that song. Happy Friday to you. It's Freedom Friday. You know what we do. Come on over to the comments and holla at your girl. Happy Friday to you. I hope you have had a wonderful week. Y'all, it's Friday. We made it. Whoo, what a week. So let's get into it. Yeah, let's get into it. But first, somebody holla at me in the comments. I was talking to my sister, who is visiting me, and I'm so glad that she's here. Hi, Tamara. Hi, little sister. I'm so happy that she's here. We were talking yesterday. We went to visit Vanita, Dr. V, and we were talking yesterday about plants. Man, I'm just sitting in her house, and oh my God, great song. Thank you, Tracy. Oh my God, the plants that are growing in her house are just gorgeous. Y'all, I can't grow nothing but kids. Nothing. I do not have a green thumb. Tina tells me that our grandmother, she had the green thumb. I didn't get it. Now, I might have got hands and some other stuff, but I did not get the green thumb. So, why am I talking about that? Well, first of all, I need to know who in here has a green thumb. I want to know, what can you grow? What can you grow? Tracy, by the way, that package we were talking about came in the mail yesterday, and I want to thank you. What can you grow? Now, this is not, well, I mean, it kind of is in a roundabout way, a topic today about growth. I'm really not going to mess with y'all too much about the G word, but I need to know, what can you grow? What can you grow? Can you grow forgiveness? Can you grow? I don't know. What can you grow? I can keep a plant alive, but can't garden. Baby, I'm so glad you said that. Good morning, Mama J. Let's get into today. Hi, Mother Barnes. Can't grow nothing either. Listen, you may as well forget it. If you leave it over here and it's not a kid, it ain't gonna be all right when you come back to get it. That's the bottom line. That's what it is. But I'm so glad that Tamara said can't garden. Y'all, last week we talked about Adam. We talked about Adam in the garden. Good morning, Jackie. We talked about Adam in the garden. And y'all, I started thinking about this thing early this morning. I got back to the plants at the house and the growth. And Jackie, don't get nervous. Stay on the line. I got to thinking about those things. But then I thought, let's talk about my girl Eve. We talked about Adam. Let's talk about my girl Eve. People don't like to talk about Eve unless they're giving her a hard time. But y'all, Eve taught me some things, and I saw some things when I was reading the scriptures this morning. So if y'all don't mind, I'm going to share with you, and I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 5. I have 5 garden tips for you. So let's get into it. First of all, you know the story. Adam, Eve, they in the garden, they chilling. God was like, yo, you can eat this, but don't go over there messing with that. I'm telling you, if you eat that, your stomach is not just going to hurt. You will surely die. You know the tree, good and evil, that whole thing. The tree of life was out there chilling, but they was not supposed to touch that. God gave them the rules. He told Adam. Adam relayed the message to his girl Eve. That was that. Let's pick it up where the serpent comes on the scene. I know y'all know the story, but let's pick it up where the serpent shows up. I started reading, and I got to share my 5 garden tips based on my garden observations. Eve was living her best life, y'all. She had everything she could have needed. I'm not ragging on her. I'm not giving her a hard time. I'm just trying to tell you, my girl was living her best life, right? She had provision. Her man was out here working and making the showdown go down. He out here naming stuff and can on, out there being all original, right? So they chilling. But here comes the serpent. Here he comes. Eve was living a good life until she had a snake encounter. Now, I know a lot of people like to argue the point. Well, maybe the serpent wasn't actually a snake. We're not arguing no points today, okay? Hey, Sharika, we're not arguing no points. We're just going to talk about the fact that life was going well for Eve until she had a snake encounter. I don't know about you, but I've had some snake encounters when life seemed to be going well. It seemed like she had everything. So then I started thinking, well, God, what's the tip in that? What are you trying to tell me? Let me give you, hey, Marlene, let me give you number one. She was in paradise. But here's the first tip, y'all. Even paradise has snakes. You would think it couldn't be called paradise if there was a snake in the midst. Thank you, Tina. But even paradise has snakes. We cannot get so comfortable that we stop watching, that we stop paying attention. We cannot be so living in the lap of luxury that we forget that there is an enemy out there and he's using whom he will. Because even in paradise, there are snakes. So I wanted to write down garden tips, but then I thought, why are you acting so surprised? So I had to jot that down, y'all. So I'm going to ask you every once in a while, why are you acting so surprised? If there was a snake in the garden, if there was a serpent in the garden, and then, your question is, well, why? Like, because y'all, 100, I'm always asking God, well, what did you do that for? Now, you may be asking God, like, God, why would you even make snakes? But I'd be asking God, why would you even make him? They're snakes, right? I'm talking about people with snake mentalities, attitudes, dispositions, call it what you will. And I have asked God, what is their purpose? Like, what are we doing this for? Why am I even being bothered with this foolery right here? But God put the snake in the garden. God was not oblivious. He knew the snake was there, but the snake had a purpose. And it wasn't so that they would sin. The snake was so that they would make good choices. The snake was there to show them what not to be and what not to do. He had to be there. But anyway, we're not about to argue those points, but I want you to understand that there was snakes in paradise. So while she had everything she needed, there were snakes there. So why are we acting so surprised when we are dealing with snakes? Here's the part two to that. Our location, or the extension of that, I should say, our location does not exempt us from snake encounters. Why do we think because we terrified, baby, listen, you seen that movie Snakes on a Plane? Baby, bye. Because I feel like God loved me enough that if it touched me, I ain't even going to have to suffer none of that. I ain't trying to go out like that. Yo, why do we feel like our location exempts us? Because the people on your job are so nice. You don't think there's snakes there? Because you came to church, you don't think there's snakes there? Baby, there's snakes in the building. Yeah, and they're there just like they were in paradise. So why are we acting so surprised? No, I didn't watch it either, Marlene. Hey, Ruthie, why are we acting so surprised when we have a snake encounter? Why does it throw us off and we can't seem to function? We can't seem to do what we know we should be doing because there's snakes. The location doesn't exempt us. It doesn't matter. Our titles, our money, our connections does not exempt us. There are going to be these encounters. And Eve had a snake encounter. So what you got to do is, baby, watch your step. Y'all, my sister and I and Jackie, we went to Garden of the Gods. And, we don't hike, but you got to walk up the rocks a little bit. Y'all, I was laughing. I was giggling. I was talking. We was taking pictures. But, baby, you better know I watched everywhere my foot went down. Yeah, don't let the location blind you to what's going on around you. Hide in places you don't think about looking. Baby, Marlene, don't help me today. Help me today. Ha! hide in places you don't even think about looking. So that was the first thing. Number two, the Bible says that the serpent was subtle. That word has a lot of meanings. Let me give you a couple of them. That he was sly, crafty, deceitful. But did you know that subtle can also mean delicate and charming? Yeah. Don't you know that not every snake is what you think it's going to be or looks like you think it's going to look? It may come upon you very subtly, very charmingly, very cunningly. Listen, here was my tip. Everybody charming ain't caring. Why did I say that? Because he didn't care nothing about Eve, but he rolled up on her like she was his dog. Like, you know, it was important to him to have this conversation with her. Hey, Robin, he rolled up on Eve like, oh, I got your best interest at heart. But you've got to understand, when you have a snake encounter, you may not even realize it's a snake encounter until it's too late. So that's why you've got to pay attention to the delicacies. You've got to pay attention to the nuances, right? He was not for her. He was only trying to make her disobey God. He was out having fun. And he was even delicate in the way that he approached her. Check it out. When he talked to her, he didn't come in squeezing the life out of her. He didn't put venom in her. He didn't come in acting like a snake. He didn't come in sinking his teeth, but he came in like a friend. He came in charming. He came in like, Eve, my girl, let me holler at you. He came in smooth, okay? Smooth. Check it out. He asked her about the tree. Now, when he asked her about the tree, he didn't check her, right? He asked her so smooth. He said, did God say you could not eat of every tree? It was the way he came about it. Y'all, you've got to watch your step. You've got to mind your P's and Q's and stop acting so surprised when your foot lands on a snake. You've got to not be surprised, because God showed us in the garden that snake encounters were going to be a part of our very existence, right? Sneaky, slick. But he came about and he said, did God say, quiet? That's right. Quiet, baby. Did God say you couldn't eat of every tree? That's how he put it to her. Let me get to number 3. This is my garden tip. Number 3, the serpent asked that question because he said to her, did God tell you XYZ? That let me know one of two things had already happened. Number 1, that means he was there when God told Adam. Number 2, or he was there when Adam told Eve. The point is, the devil, the enemy, the serpent, the snakes that he has planted around you and is infiltrating. Listen, they are already ear hustling. The snake already knew what God had said. That means that he was already listening to what God had already told them. So he knew before they talked about it, because he was ear hustling. Let me tell you something. The enemy is lurking because he needs to hear what God has promised you. He needs to hear about your destiny. He needs to hear about your relationship with God. Because more importantly than fooling with those things, if he can tear up your relationship with God, he can tear up all of those other things. Hey, Trina, he can tear up the promise, and he can mess with, in his mind, all of those other things if he can jack up your relationship. He was there, and he already knew that God had been talking to Adam, and Adam had been talking to Eve, because Adam and Eve were in relationship. Sweet talk. Listen, baby, he was there for it. There are going to be some people that are there for it. They're ear hustling. They're listening, but they're not listening to help you. They're not listening to push you. They're not listening to motivate you. They're listening to mess with you. They're listening to stop you. That's what they're trying to do. Hey, Rachel, that's what they're up to. That's the snake encounter. So when the snake talks to Eve, he already knew what God had told them, because he was an ear hustler. Baby, you got to watch folks that are always lurking and you know, they're not contributing. They're just lurking. Yeah, it's folks that's on your page today lurking. They're not there to like your status. They're not there. You like, well, why do I have these friends? And some of these folks don't ever even say nothing. Some folks are just lurking. They're just trying to see what is going on. What has God promised you? And can I get in the mix? Can I mess that up? Baby, you've got to understand that there are going to be some snake encounters, but the snake is paying attention. And if the snake is paying attention, why aren't you? She answered him, let me get this to you. Stop acting so surprised. Number 4, y'all, I'm getting through these because I'm trying to go somewhere with this. Number 4. This is the garden tip number 4. God didn't tell Eve directly. He told Adam. But when Eve answered the snake, the serpent, when Eve answered the serpent, her first mistake was she answered him. Let me tell you right now, you don't owe the enemy none of that. None of that. But even Jesus, after the fast, replied. He wasn't answering Satan's questions. He replied. He decreed and declared. He hit him with the "it is written." I don't have to answer your questions. I can just tell you what the Lord said. It is written. So that was the first thing she did, was she answered. But it was what she said that really got next to me this morning, was when she answered with what God said. She didn't answer with what Adam said. She answered with what God said. She told the serpent, she said, God said we couldn't eat of this tree. Baby, how are you responding when you have a snake encounter? How are you responding? Because what we cannot afford to do is respond like the snake. Yeah, that's not who we are. And sometimes our flesh be like, oh, you bite me, I'm gonna bite you. You swing, I'm swinging. You get into it, I'm gonna get into it deeper, right? But listen. How are you responding? She responded with the word. Here's what really tripped me out. This ain't in my notes, but I got to say it right quick. This is what really tripped me out. She responded with the word, but she still did opposite what she knew. That's part of that. That's my extension. I did write down, stop acting like, well, God, you gonna have to drop a lightning bolt. You gonna have to knock the roof off my car. You gonna have to knock the dust off of me before I do XYZ. When you already know what God told you. Jay, I'm not saying she shouldn't have replied. I'm saying that every time a snake hits, we don't have to reply. But if we do reply, our reply is it's important how we reply. I don't think she had to talk to him at all. She already had her directives from God. She didn't have to explain to the snake what God told her and Adam. He wasn't talking to the snake. He was talking to her. And that's when we get in trouble, is because God gives us vision and we go run it past people that don't care about our visions and don't care about us. When the bottom line was, God was never talking to them. He was talking to us. So I don't think she should have replied or had to reply. Either way, I like the reply she gave. That's all. I don't always respond, because the Bible also tells us that we can study to be quiet, that all things are lawful but not expedient. In other words, it may be the right thing to say, but not the right time to say it. Maybe you don't have to respond. If he's going to fight your battles, I don't have to swing. You feel me? So that's all I'm saying. She answered him. He didn't mean her no good. But in her defense, she didn't know who she was even talking to. She only knew that he was a serpent in the garden. She really didn't have full understanding of the fact that he was trouble. He was trouble. Because the directive was not that she couldn't talk to him. The directive was what she could not eat. So that's a whole nother conversation. But let me get to this. We already know what God has said. We don't need lightning bolts. We don't need Shazam. We don't need God to knock the starch out of us for us to do things when we already know what he said, right? And by her answering him the way she did, that lets me know she knew what God's directives were. She knew what his instructions were. But let me get you to number 5. And I know I got there quick, but y'all, I got a piece that I got to share with you after this. Let me get to number 5. That old slew-footed serpent told her, because she told him, God said, if we eat of this tree, we will surely die. His response to her was, not the starch. His response to her was, you will not die if you eat this. Basically what he said, and I'm going to paraphrase it for you, but you can drop over there in Genesis 2 and 3. Basically what he said to her was, God don't want you to be great. He said, God don't want you to be great. You are not going to die. God knows that if you eat this fruit, you're going to be wise like him. You're going to know everything he knows. You're going to have all of his power. You're going to be just like him in every way. Basically, he was trying to tell her, God, he don't want you to be all of that, because then he's going to be jealous because you're going to be able to do everything he can do. What he did, y'all, when he hit her with that statement, and this really got me this morning, is right there, he told her, that's not going to happen. No, God is, nope. What he did, y'all, was he called God a lie. He called God a liar. Now, let's go back to the fact that he been ear hustling this whole time. So he knows God can hear him, right? That's why we need discernment and obey God. Absolutely. So he calls God a lie to Eve. He was like, man, God is fronting you. That's not getting ready to happen. You don't even have to worry about that. Eat the cake, Anime. You good. Here's my next why are we so surprised? Baby, if he'll lie on God, why are we so shocked when snakes lie on us? Why are we so blown away when people lie on us? Why does it hurt us to our core when people lie on us? Y'all, I'm not telling y'all I'm above that. I get heated when people lie on me. Heated to the point that I'll be knocking on doors, making phone calls. I'll put you on a 3-way call because you's a liar. Yeah, one of y'all is lying and we about to prove who it is because it ain't me. I can't stand it. But y'all, if the very one that he created, because he created that snake. Let's get that straight. It's a whole nother topic, but let's deal with it. Would call him a lie. Why are we snapping when folks lie on us and lie to us? Because he stood right there and lied to Eve. He lied to her and she believed him, right? So she eats it. Y'all, Eve gets a lot of steak. We be on her because my girl messed up bad. But can I give y'all in my next 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, the Eve clap back? We've covered the snake encounter. We've talked about those pieces, the stuff to look out for. Let me give you a quick, I'm just gonna name them. Even paradise has snakes. Everybody charming ain't caring. The enemy is lurking. Stop acting like you don't know what God said. And he called God a lie. There we go. Those are the tips in the garden. These are the things that happened in the garden. Baby, get them on the phone, Trina, and does. And has been known. I don't Facebook bang. I knock on doors. Yeah. Anyway, don't start me. Now that we've done that, we know what she dealt with. But can we get on the other side of what happened? Can we deal with the Eve clapback? Can I just give you a couple things about Eve that people don't talk about? They don't really spend any time on. Let me give you number 1. She was the first. The first what? The first wife, the first mother. She was the first. Don't you know that there are people that are going to have to follow behind you because God has already made you the first? I know they tell you, Trina, that's not going to work. Nobody's ever done that before. Baby, that's fine because I'm the first. Delon, I don't see that going well. That's fine because I'll be the first. God has already made you the first. He has already ordained that there are going to be some things that you're going to do that other people never even occurred to them, did not cross their mind. They didn't have a clue, but God said, I'm going to make Quran the first. Yeah, that's dope. The first wife. Y'all, We can go so many ways down that road, but she was the first mother. Yeah, that's dope. The head and not the tail. Let's get into that. Let me tell you this next clapback moment. Despite her colossal mistake, and baby, that mistake cost everybody. But have you ever made a mistake that cost everybody? Trina, put it on a shirt. Have you ever made a mistake that cost everybody around you, everybody you love, people you didn't even know were hurting, you didn't even know it? Baby, she made a colossal mistake. But here's what I love. Even though she made this gigantic, ginormous, enormous mistake, God still used her. Honey, there is nothing that you've done that if you go back to God and repent and get yourself together, God will not still use you. And what I love is because he had the authority, the dominion, the power, and the creativity to make woman in the first place, he could have thrown her away and made another one. He could have tossed her and said, ooh, that model didn't come out good. I'm going to make one more. But he didn't. God never threw her away. People throw her away. We be on her. And baby, don't get me wrong. I've had 4 kids. I be's on her. But God never threw her away despite the gigantic mistake she made and the impact on humanity that mistake made. Baby, that wasn't no small thing she did. But God still allowed her to be the first mother, the first wife. He still used her in an enormous way. Remember last week, and if you're on and you didn't catch last week, go check it out. Remember when we talked about the fact that Adam was allowed to name the animals and they're still calling the animals those names today? That impact is still here today. Eve is still being discussed today. But look at what God did with her. If she's the first mother, and she is, jump all the way down into Revelations and look at all these generations. Do you know that Noah was in the 10th generation of Adam and Eve? Noah, the one who built the ark after Jesus was like, I'm done with this foolishness. We're going to start afresh. We're here because of Noah, the ark, all of that went down. Well, guess what? 10 generations connected all the way back to Eve. Had she not been there, had God thrown her away, the story would have been different. But God did not let it be so. Eve is proof that it does not have to be like this. It won't always be like this. Yeah, Eve is proof that it didn't have to stay that way. God started doing things. Y'all, don't let me mess with y'all too much on that. Let me get to this other one. She was cursed. Hey, cousin, she was cursed to have pain in childbirth. Y'all, peep this. I read somewhere this morning that Eve is the reason for epidurals. I felt like running. Y'all, this is a clapback right here. God told her you're going to have pain in childbirth, right? And we still do. But here's the deal. Because of that pain, God gave somebody the knowledge to block it. Baby, you might have done some of the worst things you could have think of and some stuff you probably thought you would never do. But God has so much grace and so much mercy that he will block the pain. Block it. Block it. Listen, God can take what you've been through, baby, and make it like it never was. He can block it. Eve, epidurals. What do epidurals do? Block the pain. I said, shut up, God. You trying to show me that even in my mistakes, even in my folly, you still love me enough to block the pain. You still love me enough to make me the first. You still y'all. Let me give you this last one and I'm done because I got very tickled by this right here. In the garden, they were naked, but not ashamed, right? Because they didn't have any concept of what naked. They had no feelings about that, right? But after the forbidden fruit, their eyes came open and they realized they were naked and they began to cover themselves and sew fig leaves. She was the first seamstress. The first seamstress. Baby, if it wasn't for her sewing skills that the Lord gave her, we'd be out here naked and afraid. Baby, and it wouldn't just be a TV show. We'd be naked and ashamed. Wouldn't just be a TV show. Baby, God took her and did some miraculous things. Read about her. Don't get stuck on her mistakes, and understand that there are people that are going to be stuck on your mistakes. All they see you is as forbidden fruit. They only see you as the girl who messed up, the girl who had a baby early, the girl who slipped out, the girl who got high, the boy who, that's all they see. But baby, God sees you beyond that. God sees you in the future. I'm talking all the way down to 2023. Baby, God sees you in the future. Eve was then, but we're still looking right now. You've got to know that your mistakes, God can use you. God can use you. And when people come for you, Shani, good morning, and talk to you about your mistakes, just go ahead and tell them, stop acting so surprised. My daddy still loves me. Stop acting so surprised. Yeah, I know I came from the projects, but my daddy still loves me. Yes, I know I made some mistakes, but my daddy still loves me. Yes, I've mistreated some people, but my daddy still loves me. My daddy loves me so much that he'll still use me. Y'all, when you have a snake encounter, remember your daddy still loves you. Baby, the snake can't kill you because God ain't gonna let him. Your daddy still loves you. Still loves you. I love y'all. I hope you've enjoyed our little walk in the garden with Miss Eve. I always say when I get to heaven, and I do plan on going. It may not look like it some days by the way I act, but I do plan on going. When I get there, I need to have a conversation with her. But you know what? I'm starting to see her a little bit different. Oh, scripture. Hold on, Isaiah. Blot out my transgressions. Hold on. Hold on. In spite of your mistakes, the scripture says in Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, your enemy. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Jay, I love y'all. My baby brother's on Edward H. That's baby Jay. I love these stories because there's so much that we just don't see all the time. We have to take time and go look because we are more than our mistakes. Eve was more than hers and you are more than yours. I love y'all. Have an amazing weekend. Do me a solid. Share this video with somebody so they can understand that Daddy still loves you. Daddy still loves you. Even if you make a mistake when the snake comes up on you, if you forget what God said, he still loves you. He still loves you. Enjoy your weekend. Holla at your girl. Deuces. I'm out. Bye.